And I summon you. Thought you'd be bigger than that.
In the Seals of Cthulhu, you are either a cultist trying to bring about the end of the world, or you are an investigator trying to stop said cultists from destroying everything that we love. So the game is very, very simple, and you only need a few things to get set up. So you decide which faction each player is going to be. Either you're going to be the cultists, or you're going to be, as I said, the investigators. So each player is going to get their own faction of cards here, and you're going to get a gate card, a gate closure card, a journal, a Necronomicon, a potion, and Shoggoth. And just to show you on the investigator side, there are those exact same cards. Again, the gate closure, the journal, the Necronomicon, the potion, and Shoggoth. You will also take 4 little meeples in your color, and these will represent your cultists or your investigators. And then there's also a first player token, and according to the rules that I have here that are nicely and slightly charred here, this is how they came. The first player is the player who last encountered a nightmarish horror that left them gibbering and unable to form a thought. Or you can just choose randomly. So let's just say that I am playing the investigators and I am the very first player. So, first of all, let's have a look at the cards and explain what everything is on the cards. So first of all, at the very top here, this shows you how much control the card is worth if you have it face up on your side of the table. At the end of the game, whoever has the most control is the winner of the game. So, for example, the gate card here for the investigator is worth 1 point of control. And it's also reminded right here. Now note that the cards aren't even between the two factions. For example, the gate for the cultist is worth 5 points of control. Also, each card has an amount of influence that you can use in later turns, and you can use this as part of your bid to get other cards. And I'll explain that in a second, but the gate is worth 5. Now, remember that the cultist is kind of the opposite, so it's 5 control and only 1 influence, where this is 1 control and 5 influence. Then, most of the cards are half of a card, and you have to have the other half to be able to do the action that is on the bottom of it. So, for example, with the gate, if you control both face up, so both halves of the gate, you may flip one face down, and if you do, flip another face up card face down. And there's reasons that you want to do that with some of the cards that you may have. So let's decide what card we want to put up for bidding right now. Now, one of the things that might be interesting to put up first is your Shoggoth card, because your Shoggoth card is worth -3 points of control. So you kind of really don't necessarily want to have this on your side, and you definitely don't want the whole Shoggoth, because that's worth -6 points. But you can use its ability to mitigate that. So let's just say we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the gate up for bid. So once we decided what card we want to put up for bid, we're going to go ahead and take that, we're going to place it face down in the center of the table. And then you're going to put out an amount of influence next to that card, showing how much you're willing to sacrifice to be able to keep this card and keep it on your side. Now at the very beginning of the game, you only have these 4 figures right here, and these will be your influence. You can bid 0 to 4 to start off. So let's just say that we kind of want to keep this, because remember, this is worth 5 influence later on down the road. So let's go ahead and we're going to bid 2 on there. So now my opponent looks at that and they say, well, they can either take those 2 and let me have this card, or they can try to outbid me. So if they wanted to, they could outbid me by placing 3, or they can go ahead and place all 4 if they wanted to. And let's just say they went ahead and they're like, well, I don't think I want you to have that card. You're already bidding half of your stuff. I think I want to keep that for myself. Now it comes back to me. I can outbid my opponent if I wanted to by putting in my other 2 investigators. But I think, no, that's too steep for me. You can go ahead and have that card, but I get to take all of the influence that you bid for that card. So now the gate will go to my opponent. They will have 1/2 of that gate for them to use in the game, but they already have 1 point of control. So now it goes on to my opponent. Now, my opponent really wants to have the other half of the gate, so that way they can use the gate's ability. But they might not want to put it out just yet. So let's just say they're going to try, and they're going to put out the Shoggoth. So they're going to place that face down, and they only have 1 influence left, but they can actually use the gate as influence as well. Because remember, the gate has 5 influence on there, so they can actually add the gate as part of their trying to keep it to their influence and trying to keep that card. But they're trying to fake me out. They know that they kind of want me to actually take that card from them. So they're just going to go ahead and they're just going to bid their 1. And I have all of this influence on my side, so I'll be like, well, I have a lot to spare. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bid up to 3. So if they want to try to outbid me, they would have to use their gate card. They don't want to. They are just going to go ahead and they're going to take these, because remember, they don't want that card there. So they're just going to go ahead and take all of that because they were being sneaky. And I flip it over and I see, oh no, I got half of the Shoggoth and not really the half that I wanted. So you will continue bidding back and forth. So you will be getting cards and going back and forth until you only have 1 card in your hand. Once you have 1 card in your hand, then you have 1 final opportunity to use the abilities on the card, and then you'll count the points and you see who the winner is. Now, to use some of the abilities, let's just put out a few cards here saying that I was able to get, let's just say I got the whole Shoggoth right there, which is absolutely horrible. And let's see here. Let's just say I got half of the journal and half of the gate closure. And this is what I had at the end of the game. So, one of the things that I can do on my turn or right before scoring is, if I control both of halves of the Shoggoth, I can flip 1 face down, then flip 1 card an opponent controls face down. So I can go ahead and I could flip this part face down, and then I would look at my opponent, and my opponent there, let's just say they had the whole gate and they hadn't used it, they wanted to get all the points. I can actually flip that face down so that way they wouldn't be able to receive those points. So that is the basic game. It is very, very simple, but you're putting out the cards trying to decide how you want to do that. Now, one of the things that you can do, or you can add in these investigator and the cultist ID cards. Now, each of these give you a 1-time use ability, and each player will pick one that goes along with their faction to have throughout the game, and then you get a 1-time ability. So, for example, this Blade in the Mist says that at the end of the game, you may sacrifice any of your opponent's influencers that you control and gain 1 control point for each that you sacrifice. And then there is one similar, which one is that? It was this one, which doesn't quite have a name yet or any art like the other ones do. But this one says at the end of the game you may arrest any of your opponent's influencers that you control. You gain 2 points for 2 influencers and 5 control points for 4 influencers. So kind of the same but slightly different. So these add a little bit of variety to the game. And then something else that you can do is you don't have to always play with Shoggoth. You can play with some of the other Elder Gods. So, for example, you can play, if I can line them up here, with Cthulhu. Or if you wanted to, you can play with Hastur. And I'm trying to get it lined up here. We have Shub-Niggurath. We also have Nyarlathotep, which doesn't have the art just yet. I actually believe the art is done. I just don't have them on those cards here. We also have Azathoth. And we have Yog-Sothoth. And all of those, except for Cthulhu, are going to be stretch goals in the game. So hopefully you'll be able to unlock those because some of them have some really interesting abilities. But that is everything you need to know about the seals of Cthulhu.
Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Pull up a chair at punchboardmedia.com.
So that was the Seals of Cthulhu. Now, this is one of those games that takes a play or two to fully understand what's going on and how the game works, but it's so quick, you can get in a couple of games fairly easily. Now, something like this, a little quick game, is something that I really enjoy. And trying to figure out, it's like, oh, how much are they bidding? Do I want to try to outbid them, or are they trying to fake me out to give me something that's not going to be useful for me? Or trying to psych out your opponent. That's what I was trying to do every time I was playing with Will. I would try to, I would see a card he would have on his side that he was able to gain, and I'd be like, oh, I have the other half here. I need him to use that as part of his bid because I want that card. I don't care about the card that's out there for bid. I'm trying to, mind control my opponent to put out the cards I need to be able to manipulate the board and be able to flip over cards I don't want giving me points, like the Shoggoth giving me those negative points. But it is a simple game. It has really nice artwork. I really like how the style is on these, and I like that they're like half of a card, so that's really cool. The art that's not out yet, I've seen some of that, and it actually looks really cool. And it is a very simple game, but at the same time it is very strategic in trying to figure out how to manipulate and do what you need to do to get those cards out. And then know that there's 6 cards in your hand, but only 5 of those are going to come out onto either side of the board. So you're not exactly sure if the card that you need is going to come out of your opponent's hand. But if this looks like something that you would enjoy, go ahead and click on down below. I'm going to have a link for their Kickstarter so you can check that out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and help support Cloak and Meeple. Down below as well, you'll find links for my Patreon, Pod Pledge, and where you can buy a Cloak and Meeple shirt. And again, as always, thank you for watching.